Hello students, today I am going to introduce about the next topic, that is permanent tissue. Permanent tissue is of two types: simple permanent tissue and complex permanent tissue. Permanent tissue are formed from the meristematic tissue. They don't divide and they have permanent shape and size. They differentiate into the different types of permanent tissues. Okay. First type is simple permanent tissue. They are made up of one type of cells, and it includes three types. First is parenchyma, second is collenchyma, and third is sclerenchyma. As we have earlier discussed about the parenchyma and collenchyma. Now the third type is sclerenchyma. It consists of a it consists of a long thread, narrow and dead thick-walled cells. The cell wall contain lignin as a chemical substance which act like a cement and harden them. It gives strength and hardness to the plant part. In case of sclerenchyma, scleren means hard, enchyma means tissue, means it is a permanent tissue of dead, highly thick-walled cells with narrow lumen. The thickening is made up of lignin, 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 which functions like a cement and harden the cell walls. The wall contains that are unthickened areas. This is called as pits. इसको क्या बोलते हैं बेटा? Pit बोलते हैं. Sclerenchyma is of two types. First is fibrous and second is sclerids. Sclerenchyma fibers are made up of spindle-shaped, long and narrow cells that reach a length of 1 to 550 millimeter. They occur in the form of sheet or bundles. Sclerids that are short, broad and highly thick-walled sclerenchyma cells which occur singly or in small group. So these are called as stone cells. इनको क्या बोलते हैं? Stone cells बोलते हैं. Or grit cell, GRIT, grit cells. Now what is the location of sclerenchyma? Sclerenchyma tissue that occurs in the hypodermis of monocot. Hypodermis in monocot stems around the vascular bundles. Hard covering of seeds and nuts, husk of coconut. So these are the location of sclerenchyma tissue. Okay. Now what are the function of sclerenchyma? First है बेटा mechanical strength. See this diagram बेटा, देखो this is lumen, ये बीच में, okay, and ये stone cells है, this one stone cells is present here, and this is sclerids और this is canals, ठीक है, fibers ये है. Now function number 1, first is mechanical strength. Mechanical strength. इसमें क्या है बेटा? Sclerenchyma is the chief mechanical tissue of plants which provide them strength and enable them to bear various stress. Second is protection. इस केस में क्या है बेटा? देखो, it form a protective covering around the seed and nuts. Okay, and then third part is commercial fibers. Sclerenchyma fibers of some plants that are commercially exploited. ठीक है, जैसे बेटा हम्प है, जूट है, कोकोनट है, all these are commercial fibers. Okay. Now, what are the difference between collenchyma and sclerenchyma? देखो बेटा, first is collenchyma tissue. इट इज़ लिविंग मैकेनिकल टिश्यू एंड स्क्लेरेनकाइमा क्या है बेटा, डेड मैकेनिकल टिश्यू है। सेकंड, इवननेस ऑफ थिकनिंग, इसमें जो वॉल होती है, वॉल थिकनिंग होती है वो अनइवन होती है, इसमें जो वॉल थिकनिंग होती है वो क्या होती है, यूनिफॉर्म होती है। थर्ड इज केमिकल नेचर, जो वॉल थिकनिंग होती है दैट आर मेड अप ऑफ पिकेटिन एंड सेलुलोज, ओके, वॉल थिकनिंग इज ऑफ लिग्निन, ओके। नेक्स्ट ल्यूमन बेटा, lumen or the cell cavity that is wide, lumen and cell cavity is narrow in case of sclerenchyma, okay. Now next is food, collenchyma manufactures as well as stores food, sclerenchyma has no such functions, okay. Next, 6, hardness, it keeps the organ soft, and sclerenchyma it provide hardness, okay. Now last point is major function, collenchyma provides flexibility as well as strength, sclerenchyma it provide mechanical strength for the various stresses, okay. So these are the main difference between collenchyma and sclerenchyma. Now what is the difference between meristematic tissue and permanent tissue, okay. First beta, nature, the cells are small and isodiametric and undifferentiated. In permanent tissue, cells are large, differentiated with different shapes. Second beta, space, intracellular spaces that are absent in case of meristematic tissue, but in permanent tissue, intracellular spaces that are present. Next beta, vacuole, vacuoles are absent in meristematic tissue. Next beta, large central vacuoles are present in the living permanent cells, okay. Next nucleus, nucleus is large, इसमें nucleus क्या है, less है, conservaceous है, okay. Next beta, wall, cell wall is thin, इसमें cell wall is thin or thick, okay. Next division, the cells undergo regular division. In case of permanent tissue, the cells don't normally divide. Next is metabolism, the rate of metabolism that is high, इसमें क्या बेटा, metabolic rate is slower. Next is life, cells are living, the cells may be living or dead. Now what is the function of meristematic tissue, it take part in the growth, and in case of permanent tissue it provide protection, support, conduction, photosynthesis and storage, okay. So these are the main difference between the meristematic and permanent tissue. Now the next type of tissue, that is complex permanent tissue. These are permanent tissue which are made up of more than one type of cells, okay, means more than one type of cells which work together to perform a particular function. The complex permanent tissue that are conducting or vascular tissue, it is of two types. First is xylem and second is phloem. They are called as vascular or conducting tissue. The xylem and phloem that join together to form a vascular bundle, okay. Vascular or conducting tissue that have made possible the survival of plants in the terrestrial environment, because they can carry materials to long distance inside the plant, okay. Now we start from xylem. Point number 1, xylem. Xylem is a complex permanent tissue which takes part in the conduction of water and minerals inside the plant, okay. Xylem means wood, it provides the mechanical strength. Xylem is also called as wood. It has 4 types of elements. First is tracheids, second is vessels, third is xylem parenchyma, and fourth is xylem fibers, okay. Now tracheids and vessels that help to transport water and minerals from root to the all parts of the plant. Xylem parenchyma that store the food and fibers help in the spot. Okay. Now we start from first point. First is tracheids. This is the structure of xylem beta. Okay. First is tracheids. Tracheids कैसे हैं? These are long, tubular, dead cells with lignified walls and wide lumen. Tracheids that shows various type of thickenings for the mechanical strength. The unthickened area that help in the movement of water from one tracheids to another tracheids. Okay. Now next second point is vessel. Second is vessels. Vessels ये है बेटा, इनको हम ट्रैकी भी बोलते हैं. ठीक है, ट्रैकिया ट्रैकिया बोलते हैं इसे हम. वेसल्स आर द लॉन्ग ट्यूब्स. ये कैसे होते हैं बेटा? लॉन्ग ट्यूब होते हैं विच आर फॉर्म्ड बाय एंड टू एंड and it will form a large number of dead empty cells. Okay, the cells are lignified. They possesses pits. ठीक है, ये गड्ढे बनाते हैं बीच में. Okay, vessels and tracheids that are conducting or trachary elements of xylem. Okay, vessels are more efficient than the tracheids. They occur in flowering plants. Okay, देखो बेटा, this is the structure of tracheids. Okay, and this is vessels. In vessels में देखो ये आपकी क्या है? pit. Okay, now next is xylem fibers. ये बेटा आपका xylem fiber है. This one first structure. They are sclerenchyma fibers that found in the xylem. जो xylem fibers होते हैं that are thick होते हैं बेटा. pitted walls होती हैं इनकी, बीच बीच में देखो. narrow lumen होता है, tapering ends होते हैं. okay, they provide only mechanical strength. okay, now next is point number 4, that is xylem parenchyma. okay, it consists of living cells present inside the xylem. The cells of xylem parenchyma that store the food materials. They help in show the lateral conduction of water. Okay, so this is the 4 elements. First is tracheids, second vessels, third xylem fibers, and fourth is xylem parenchyma. Okay, now the next is, now what are the main difference between tracheids and vessels? देखो बेटा, they are the spindle shape single cell structure. Vessels are the tubular multicellular structure. Size, a tracheids is 1 to 6 millimeter long. A vessel is 1 to 10 centimeter long. Point number 3, ends. They are tapering. Vessels, they are broad, transverse or oblique. Point number 4, end plates, they are absent as ends are closed. Point number 4, end plates of individual vessels elements that get perforated to form a long channel. Point number 5, lumen, it is narrow. Vessels, it is wide. Point number 6, connectivity. Tracheids are connected with one another through the pits and other thin areas in their walls. Vessel elements that are connected by perforated end plates as well as pits in the lateral walls. So these are the main difference between tracheids and vessels. Now next is phloem. देखो बेटा, phloem, phloesis means inner bark. ओके, देखो ये आपको स्ट्रक्चर दिख रहा है phloem का. Phloem is a complex permanent plant tissue which take part in the conduction of organic food. inside the plant. Phloem is called as living conductive tissue because its transport channel that are made up of living cells. So it is called as blast. क्या बोलते हैं बेटा इसे हम? Blast बोलते हैं. Okay? Phloem is made up of 4 types of elements. देखो बेटा कौन कौन से elements हैं? First is sheave tube. Second is companion cell. Third is phloem parenchyma. And fourth is phloem fiber. Okay. Now we start from first. This is sieve tube. देखो बेटा ये आपका sieve element है, ये sieve plates है, ठीक है, ये sieve area है. तो sieve plates ये इसमें देखो they are elongated tubular living conducting channels. ओके देखो मैं इसको शॉर्ट में दिखाती हूँ. ये देखो बेटा ये sieve plate है, ठीक है. A sieve tube is formed of a large number of thin-walled sieve tube cells. ठीक है ये sieve tube cells ये है बेटा, ये sieve tube cells होती हैं. ओके that are placed end to end in the linear row. ओके ये linear row में present है. The transverse end walls between the adjacent sieve tube cells that are perforated. So they are called as sieve plates. इनको क्या बोलते हैं बेटा? sieve plate बोलते हैं. Okay, sieve plate are bulged out. Okay, sieve tube cells have vacuolated cytoplasm. Nucleus degenerates. Cytoplasmic strands are continuously between adjacent sieve tube cells through the pores of sieve plates. Okay. Now the second point, that is companion cells. देखो बेटा ये वाली जो है ये क्या है? कंपेनियन सेल्स. दे आर थिन वॉल्ड सेल्स विच लाई ऑन द साइड ऑफ sieve tube cells. Okay, companion cells that are connected to sieve tube cells through the plasmodesmata. The cells have dense cytoplasm and prominent nucleus. So they maintain the proper pressure gradient in the sieve tube cells for conduction of food. Okay. Now companion cells and sieve tube cells, these are the sister cells. क्या है बेटा ये? Sister cells है. They develop from the same mother cells. Okay. And despite having lost nucleus in the mature state, sieve tube cells remains living. Their activity is controlled by a nucleus of companion cells. Okay. Now next is point number 3. This is phloem parenchyma. ये आपको दिखाई दे रहा है. This is phloem parenchyma बेटा. It is a parenchyma present in the phloem. The cells of phloem parenchyma that are thin-walled and living. Okay. They have 2 main functions. First is storage. Second is slow lateral conduction of food. Okay. Now point number 4, that is phloem fiber. They are only non-living component of phloem. Phloem fibers are thick-walled, elongated, spindle-shaped dead cells, which shows narrow lumen. They provide mechanical strength to the tissues. Okay, so these are the phloem fibers. Now, what are the main function of phloem? Function of phloem. देखो बेटा क्या है? फर्स्ट सबसे मेन काम क्या है इसका? कंडक्शन ऑफ फूड. ओके, फ्लोएम कंडक्ट ऑर्गेनिक फूड थ्रू आउट द प्लांट. कंडक्शन अकर्स both in upward direction as well as downward direction from leaves to the storage organ and from storage organ to the growing organ. Okay, point number 2, that is phloem fiber. phloem fiber. PHLOEM, phloem fiber. These are called as bast fiber. These are help in making the commercial fibers like jute, hemp, flax, etc. Okay. Now, what are the difference between xylem and phloem? First, conduction. In case of xylem, xylem conduct water and minerals. Phloem conduct organic solids or the food materials. Second is direction. Conduction is unidirectional. Uni means single. एक ही डायरेक्शन होती है बेटा इसकी. Phloem, that conduction can be bidirectional. Okay. Next is channels. Conducting channels or tracheic elements that are tracheids and vessels. Conducting channels in case of phloem that are sieve tubes. Okay. Now next is component. Xylem consists of tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma and xylem fibers. Okay. But phloem consists of sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem parenchyma and phloem fibers. Okay. Now next is dead or living parts. Means 3 of the 4 elements of the xylem are dead. कौन कौन से बेटा? Tracheids, vessels and fibers that are dead. Only xylem parenchyma that is living. Okay. But in case of phloem, 3 of the 4 elements that are living. First, sieve tubes, companion cells and phloem parenchyma. These are living. Only phloem fibers are dead. Okay. Next, what is the main role of xylem? Main role क्या है xylem का? Mechanical strength. In addition to conduction, xylem provide mechanical strength to the plants. But in case of phloem, there is a little mechanical functioning of phloem. Okay. So phloem help in the conduction of food materials. Now, the next topic is animal tissue. Animal tissue are the groups of animal cells that are specialized to perform particular function. The working of an animal body is coordinated by tissues and organ formed from them. For example, breathing is due to contraction and relaxation of various types of muscles. In breathing, inhalation provides oxygen to the blood inside the lungs and carbon dioxide that contain in the form of in the blood passes into the air to be exhaled. ओके मीन्स जो कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड है बेटा वो क्या होती है जो ब्लड में बनी होती है वो पास होती है एयर में जो हम बाहर निकालते हैं. ओके क्योंकि बाहर हम CO2 निकालते हैं. ओके नाउ द ब्लड कैरीज ऑक्सीजन एंड फूड टू ऑल द cells. Waste product produced by the cells that are picked up by the blood to be disposed by liver and kidney. Now, blood is the main component of the connective tissue, whereas the muscles constitute muscular tissue. Okay, on the basis of their structure and functions, animal tissue are of 4 types. First is epithelial tissue. Second is muscular tissue. Third is connective tissue. And fourth is nervous tissue. Okay. So epithelial tissue is of four types. First is squamous, columnar, cuboidal, glandular. Muscular tissue is of three types: striated, unstriated, cardiac muscles. Connective tissue: blood, bones, ligaments, tendons, cartilage, areolar tissue. And now fourth tissue is nervous tissue. Okay, so animal tissue is of four types: epithelial, muscular, connective, and nervous tissue. Okay, so these are the main types of tissue: animal tissue and plant tissue. Thank you, students. Please do revise all the differences and types of tissue.